Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Asherz, and this is
Tobias.
Tobias. How's your weekend?
Oh boy, it was a weekend. There's no denying it. It was a Kentucky Derby this weekend, which is not normally a thing that I would give a shit about, but Emily loves it and she loves horses. And it's like her sport, you know. So I figure if she can listen to me complain about the fucking Bears for several months, every football season, then I can be supportive of like the one sport that she cares about at all. And so we always have a Kentucky Derby party, and it was pretty fun. It fell on Star Wars Day this year,
Oh yeah.
so I got to be a little extra nerdy, and I brought out some of my Star Wars toys as decorations. I could call them models or figures or whatever, but there's no reason to put on any airs. They're Star Wars toys, and so that was fun for me. And yeah, it was a good time. It's just a good excuse to have a bunch of family and friends over and eat too much food and yell at some horses on the television, and nice way to spend a Saturday.
Yeah, that sounds really nice. I didn't even realize it was Kentucky Derby weekend. Wow, I feel so lame now. I should have had a horse party.
Should have had a horse party. I mean, my whole life I've never been rich enough to give a fuck about horse racing. Like I've just
Right.
never had that kind of money.
Same.
Um,
Yeah.
it's very much a rich person sport, and like on every level. There's oh boy, there is what do they call it? Like the infield or something, where they open it up to the poors, so us poor folk could go and catch a glimpse of some horses running in a circle. But by and large, everybody who owns those horses, they're fucking rich. People betting on them, mostly rich or poor people with gambling problems. The
Right.
people in the stands, fucking rich. Like, and it like to the point where if I wanted to go to an NFL game, right? Like I could. Like it would be money. It's a decent amount of money for tickets now, but I could do it. But if I wanted to go to the Kentucky Derby, I'd have to build a time machine, go back in time, like give my dad some stock tips about Apple or something before I was born, so I could be born into generational wealth. It just is what it is, you know.
Yeah, we have like race tracks here, and I've never been to them. I don't know. I agree with you. I really don't have the disposable income to just, throw on a bunch of horses and then be sad when they don't win. But I guess I could just
Right.
go and cheer them on, right? I mean, I
No,
don't
that's
know.
what I'm talking about. You can't even fucking do that. It's so
Really?
expensive. Yeah, I
Wow.
mean, I even like the poor people section for the Kentucky Derby is probably more than you would want to pay. But yeah, it really is. It's called the sport of kings because the sport of fucking rich people just was not good marketing.
Wow. I will stick to monster truck shows at the fair.
Yeah, right. That's my people right there. Fucking monster
Demolition
truck.
derby. Yeah.
Real people at the demolition derby.
Yeah.
Salt of the earth.
Yeah. Nobody cares if I wear a bra there or
Fuck
not,
no.
you know?
No, I used to go. I had an uncle of mine who worked on like dragsters, and so we would go to the
Oh yeah.
dragster
Yep.
finals in Indy, which was fucking awesome. And I remember they used to have the Winston girls there. I don't know if anybody remembers them, but their whole job they were just really attractive women, and they would wear like these super short shorts, and they would be like decked out in Winston cigarette gear, right? And they would just hand out cigarettes. Like that was what they just free cigarettes. Like
To
here you go.
everybody, the kids and all.
Yeah, I mean, I think you needed to be 18, but like that's what they did. And I don't think they do that at the Kentucky Derby. I'm just
No.
saying.
Right. Yeah.
They
No, I
probably don't
agree.
do it at the dragster finals anymore, but
Oh, I don't know about
no.
that.
I mean, maybe. In my head, I haven't been in a long time, so in my head, they'll always do it.
Yeah, I haven't been either. We used to go all the time. I didn't like going. I thought it was boring.
When I was a kid, yeah, I was just like, this is really loud.
Yeah.
You see crazy shit, like people literally die. Like I've seen
Oh, yeah.
people die racing on that track, which is wild.
Yeah, no, super dangerous, and yeah, no, I hated it. I mean, I'd go and like everybody else would bring their kids too, so you'd have a bunch of kids to play with or whatever. But um, I didn't enjoy it. But I think I'd enjoy it a little bit more as an adult, just because of
Yeah.
the chaos of it all.
It's a big deal too. Like people bring their, like their fucking RVs and shit and like camp out. Like it's a huge event. But
Yeah.
it's accessible to poor people and that
Right.
makes it in my mind morally superior to the Kentucky Derby. So you
Yeah.
heard it here first. Yeah, but whatever. We're still going to have Kentucky Derby parties. I'm still going to listen to Emily talk about horses and otherwise be supportive. And I keep my comments to myself. I don't go on weird rants about how like for whatever reason we're willing to waste fucking tax dollars on providing like military personnel for the Kentucky Derby. No, I didn't mention it even once. Not at all.
Was it hard
So
for you?
it was. There was I just kept shoving food in my mouth. So anytime I felt like I was going to talk shit about, how this sport for rich assholes was playing on the television, I was like, you know what? How about a snack? Like that's fine. Just have another slider.
No, what
It's
you
fine.
should have done was use your Star Wars toys and like held them up and had them say it, not you, right? Then it's not you
Should
doing it.
have. Yes. Absolutely perfect. Like it's not
No.
me. Darth Vader just really thinks that this fucking sport is everything that's wrong with capitalism. I don't
He's
know
got
what to tell you.
he's got strong opinions,
Right? Who knew?
Oh, that sounds like a great time.
It was actually really, really, like really, really fun. And when it comes to like professional athletics, like I love the NFL. I root for the Chicago Bears. Like it's not as though that sport doesn't have its issues with, with being available or like attainable to people
Sure.
of certain like socioeconomic statuses. Like I get it. It's all about fucking money. But the Kentucky Derby really is on another level. It really, really is.
Yeah,
So
it
but yeah,
it's the
it's so
whole
fun.
thing, yeah. So, well, that's why I'm surprised that I didn't know it was happening. Usually, I feel like it's talked about a little bit more. I didn't really hear anything about it.
You didn't hear about
Um,
anything at like the country club or
no, I didn't.
no?
Those bastards. They
Like
even knew that
nothing at
more.
like your Illuminati meeting, just nobody
No.
talked about it, huh? Weird.
All they talked about was Cinco de Mayo. I
What
don't.
the fuck?
It's terrible.
Yeah, weird.
Um, I know, right? Speaking of which, I did celebrate, not on purpose. I'm not a big Cinco de Mayo person because I I, I don't know how to say this, but I'm not Mexican, and
Okay.
so
I mean,
it
this is
just
news to me, but all right.
I know, right? It just doesn't feel right celebrating Mexico's freedom when that's not, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
whatever.
it's never been a thing that I've celebrated. I've never had an opinion on whether or not people
Right.
can or should.
Yeah.
But I've never had any interest in it. No.
It's just never been. I mean, it would be like celebrating my fucking neighbor's birthday. Like, I don't know them. I why would I celebrate their birthday? Not to be like, crass or anything. But anyway, the whole point um is that people just get together and eat Mexican food and drink margaritas, like basically is what it
Sure.
is, right? And so I like Mexican food and I like margaritas. So I had plans to go hang out with one of my friends, and I go to her house, and we did that. It was fine. But when dinner's ready, we're like hanging out, and I really haven't seen her in a long time. And when dinner's ready, we're all gonna go eat outside, so everybody's getting food ready, and I'm getting ready to go out, and she says, "Hey, when you go out there, ask Keith, her brother, ask Keith how he's doing." I'm like, okay. And so I go out there and I said, "All right, Keith." So Jazz tells me to ask you how you're doing. And he looks at his girlfriend and kind of looks at me and looks at her. And he's like, "Oh, I'm good." I'm like, okay. All right. So I sit down and he's like, "Yeah, I've had a lot of things happening." His girlfriend's like, "Oh, yeah, get ready for a story." And I'm not going to tell it all because um, he eventually, I think, wants to come on the show and talk about it. But he had a pretty wild experience about a week ago where he felt like himself, a higher version of himself, took over his body.
Okay.
So he was they were eating. He said that he bit into something. He was eating a sub and bit into something, and it felt like it got stuck in the back of his throat.
Was
And
that
then
something several tabs of acid?
it wasn't,
No.
unfortunately.
Okay, just checking.
Not this time, sadly. But, he felt like something got stuck in the back of his throat, and then he said it started spinning, like he could feel it spinning. And all of a sudden, he says that it was like an out of body experience but like in reverse. He saw his other self come and enter his body. And so the whole family is there and they're kind of witnessing all of this. So it's him, his girlfriends, his sister, my friend, and their dad. Also, my friend's two younger kids are there. And he starts like visibly having a conversation with himself. And for whatever reason, he was like, his other self wanted somebody to record because he had a message. He wanted to say something. And he himself, his actual self, is like begging everybody not to. So he's like going back and forth with this. It got to the point they called the police because they didn't know what the fuck was going on. And the police came out and it was like, this thing was like trying to have a conversation with police, trying to have a conversation. He was also trying to break through, being like, don't fucking talk to the police like that. I don't want to die. Um, but the guy he wasn't violent, but he was very excitable and very loud and like had a lot to say in a short amount of time. And what that message is just basically like how we suck, like right, our lives kind of suck, or what we're doing sucks. We should do better. We are a community and should be a community. Pretty positive message, and actually a message that we get a lot of times with like UFO abductees and people that have these kind of experiences. Right, the human race fucking sucks. Change it, and then we never listen. um, but it was wild. I didn't realize I was walking into work on Cinco de Mayo, but I was. And, like I
Huh.
said, a lot more detail to it. They are going to get before he kind of comes too forward with it, he wants to get the body cam footage from the cops. And,
Okay.
what everybody was saying is like his face would like visibly change depending on which him was talking at the time. And what was wild about it was that while he's recanting this story to me, his face is visibly changing. It was fucking weird. It was fucking weird. So, did he have some type of divine experience? That's not up to me to decide. I've known this individual for like 20 years. Nothing like this has ever happened before. He's been into weird stuff like we all are. We're all, goth kids or whatever. We like the weird.
Sure.
But nothing like this for sure. So I'm a little invested. I'm interested to see where this goes and what becomes of it because he's like gung ho about having this experience again. And instead of fighting it this time, he wants to kind of let it happen and see what happens. But yeah, he went to the hospital. They chalked it up to a psychotic break. One of the nurses there, she was like insistent that it was demonic of some sorts. Because I mean, I guess it would seem that way if you believe that type of
Uh-huh.
thing, some type of demonic possession. So
I
it was
just love that, like,
interesting.
the nurse's professional scientific opinion was
Yes,
demons.
well, of course it is.
Good lord. Okay.
So that was neat. Yeah, it was a good time. I enjoyed
Sure.
it.
No, it's interesting. Yeah, I would love to hear more about it
Yeah.
and talk to him and try to see what happened. I would love to hear verbatim the
Oh
actual
yeah.
message,
Yeah.
honestly. Like,
Yeah,
that would
no,
be interesting.
he tells it a lot better than I do. Like I said, I would love to get him to come on and share his own, and he will. I think he just wants to kind of have that proof. I think he's kept saying that he's kind of afraid that people won't believe it.
Nobody's gonna
Um,
believe it. Like, you
Nobody
can't
is
you
right,
can't get into this expecting
right.
people to believe it. I shouldn't say nobody, but you cannot
Yeah,
get into this with the expectation that you will be believed. That
exactly.
cannot be important to you
Yeah,
because you're gonna be let down.
yeah.
You're just gonna be disappointed.
No, I absolutely agree, and that was kind of what I told him. You kind of just get to the point to where you've had an experience and you know what you experienced, then that's it. And people either believe it or they don't. But considering, like I said, this thing, he says it's him. It's another version of him, and he said that he could actually like see other versions of everybody else too that was there. Like I don't know. So he like I said, he does it better justice than I do, but like it's
Sure.
coming. He's coming out with it, so it'll be exciting. I'm excited to see the body cam footage. I can't wait.
Oh
I think
yeah,
I think that'll be really cool. I think it is neat that somebody has it somewhere, because the family ultimately didn't record. They were too afraid. They didn't know what the fuck was going on, and I don't blame them.
yeah,
So that was cool. That was really neat. And then today, before I recorded the show, so I talk about my Facebook groups a lot. One of the Facebook groups I'm in is just people in the area that give away shit for free that they don't want anymore.
sure.
And one of the things that somebody was giving away for free today was, guess what? Again, and on the show, an Ouija board.
Really?
A 1972 Parker Brothers Ouija board. Yeah.
But was it demonically possessed?
Well, I asked. The guy goes to hand it to me. I said, "There's no demons in here, is there?" And he kind of laughed, and he's like, He said, "I don't know. We got it from. We got this like whole box of games, and it was in there, and we won't touch it." And I'm like, "Okay," but so I get it home, and it's in fucking fantastic condition. Really, I mean, all the inserts, everything's still there. The box is slightly rough, but from 1972, it's not bad.
Sure.
And I open it up, and the board's on top, and you take the board out, and then you've got your planchette. Well, where the planchette sits, there is like a half used thing of matches, and when you lift the planchette, there's like a like masking tape on it with the date October 29th, 1985 written on it.
Okay.
So I don't know what any of that means.
October 29th, 18
October
or 1985.
1985. Yeah.
So 2 days before Halloween in 1985.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. 2 days before Halloween.
Huh.
So I don't know if the matches have been there that long. I don't know if that's the last time it got played with. I don't know what this means. I don't know if that's when they got gifted it.
Right.
Um, I don't know. I don't know the story behind it, but I have it now, because I think it's neat, and
Sure.
it's the coolest free thing I think I've ever gotten in my whole life.
Yeah,
So
that's super rad. Like, I'll take a free. I mean, I have 3 Ouija boards, and I would take another one for free.
yeah,
There's always room for extra demons.
right. I would have taken it if it was brand new, like just came out this year. But the fact that it is like a 1972 edition is pretty neat. So the
Yeah,
box is
that's
all.
cool.
It looks like it's from the 70s.
Nice. A lot of bell bottoms,
Yeah. Yeah, people wearing their bell
flowers
bottoms,
stitched into things.
their
Yeah,
big old colorful sunglasses. So,
nice.
but no, like I kind of the girl. So it was like a guy and a girl, I guess. So the girl is the one who posted it, who I
Uh,
talked to. I said I'm going to come pick it up. Most of these things, you pick them up, they just leave it on their porch and you grab it and go. But a guy came out with no shirt on and gave it to me, and
okay.
and that's why I asked if there's demons in it. So the girl messages me and she's like, "Yeah, he said that you asked if there were demons in it." So
Oh boy.
I said, "Well, yeah, I did." And she's just like, "Oh," she's like, "Well, that's why I won't touch it. That's why we got rid of it. I don't want anything to do with it." But she was curious, and I told her what I said. Did you open the box at all? Because I wanted to know. Did you put the tape in there? Did you put the matches in there?
Uh,
Um, she said she insists that she didn't. But I showed her what was in it, and she thought that was creepy. So
that's hilarious. So for the record, um, there are not demons in fucking Ouija boards. So knock it off with that,
no,
people.
there aren't.
So yeah, when I make jokes like always room for more demons, it's not because I'm some asshole who loves demons. It's because I'm not a moron. And I know that there aren't demons in Ouija boards, so I don't have to fucking worry about
I love demons. I don't know what's wrong with you.
it.
I
But
wish.
I don't even like horror movies with demons. Like those are usually the most boring horror movies.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, no, there's no demons in this board.
Unless
Um,
it's Night of the Demons, in which
you
case
know.
I never get sick of that. I never will.
But have you ever seen Night of the Demon?
No, what trying to remember what movie that is. I don't think I've seen it, but I
You
kind of
probably
know what you're talking.
haven't. It's so
I kind of know
obscure.
what you're talking about, though.
It's a Bigfoot movie.
Okay,
Spoiler
yep.
alert:
So I have heard of it, but no, I have not seen it.
Bigfoot impregnates some girl and also jizzes all over the place and
Good.
puts Girl Scout Jason style, but before Jason came out, puts two Girl Scouts in sleeping bags and beats each other with them.
Okay.
So it's a pretty solid, terrible movie.
When did that come out? That sounds awful.
I think it came out in the 70s. I think
Okay, I'm
it
just
was yeah.
surprised a movie in the '70s would have had fucking Bigfoot jizz everywhere.
Bigfoot jizz. Yeah, Bigfoot jizz. No, check it
Huh.
out.
All
Check it
right.
out.
Well, very open-minded of you, 1970s. I will check it out.
It might have been the 80s, but I think it was
80s,
the
I feel like
70s.
we're less open-minded than the
Yeah.
70s even.
Yeah, it's something. Get a group of people together, get your Star Wars
Okay.
toys out, check it out.
Sure, I will.
show, show your buddies.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, that's what I did. That's what I did this weekend. So
Nice. We should
super,
have a
super
watch
enjoyable.
party with Night of the Demon.
We should. That would be super cool. I think everybody would fucking love it. Because why wouldn't they love Bigfoot jizzing all over the place?
I mean, it's the kind of thing that everybody should see once, I
At
would
least
guess.
once. Yeah, at least
Yeah.
once in their lifetime. So,
Treat
um,
yourself.
treat yourself to a nice cold glass of Bigfoot
Gross.
jizz.
So I don't drink it.
Oh, well.
It's, Jesus. Are you sure there was no demons in that Ouija board?
There might be.
Yeah.
A couple at least. So,
Yikes.
anyway,
Okay.
before I get to the news, um, let's talk about the exciting updates going on with on Wednesdays We Talk Weird. Have you heard of that show before?
I have not.
Yeah. No, you should check
Is
it
it
out. It's all
good?
right. It's okay. They talk about Bigfoot jizz and
Oh,
alien
gross.
boners. So
Fucking
if you like that,
degenerates.
I know, right? No, we have expanded a little bit over here. You can now follow on Wednesdays We Talk Weird on various social media platforms. We now have a Facebook page. I think you just look up on Wednesdays We Talk Weird and it's there. We now have a Instagram and we now have a Twitter at Wednesdays Talk. So check those out. Go follow
Yeah,
them.
you should. You definitely should. It's a great free way to support the podcast. So
Yeah.
if you enjoy it, and you want to be able to support it and help us out, following our social media is a great way to do that. If you want to go above and beyond, interact with it. you
Yeah.
know,
Please.
like stuff, comment on things, all of that fun shit. And really, the benefit of this is that you'll be able to receive all of the updates and information about the show in one place going
Yes.
forward. You're not going to have to depend on seeing it piecemeal as it comes out, posted by individuals. There is an official source for information on the website. So if you're curious about what's going on or what's coming up, that's where to go.
Yeah. And you definitely want to follow them because um the thing is that there's more stuff that's going to happen. There's a lot of cool things that we're going to be doing over here. And I'm not going to tell you what they are yet because why would I? You're not paying me to tell you my secrets, right? But but no, really, we've got a lot of really cool stuff planned. So I mean, you definitely want to follow those socials, stay up to date with what's going on with the show. It's also probably the best way to interact with both of us directly. At least for me, I can't speak for Tobias; he doesn't read comments. But for me, my DMs are already flooded with not just you guys, but a bunch of stuff. So if you keep it specific to the show, I know that you're there for the show, and that's why you're contacting me.
Yes. One thing I will say, I will read comments if they are on official things that I
Oh,
have published. So if somebody comments on something that I have published to like the Singular 40 Society Facebook page or something, I do read those. So if you're commenting on things that are actually on the On Wednesdays We Talk Weird social media like profiles, any of them, I will read those. So if you just absolutely need me to know your opinion on something, by all means. The comments that I don't read are on anything but that kind of stuff. So, like, if I have, I don't know, if there's an article or something that I've written and it's been shared out in the wild somewhere, I'm not reading the fucking comments on that. I'm just not. There aren't enough hours in the day, first of all. And second of all,
sure.
life is too fucking short.
Yeah.
But if if you're cool and you're listening to the podcast and you actually want to comment on some shit on our social media, fuck yeah, I'm going to read that. Like, we should hang out. Let's be friends. Those are the comments that I want to see. Those are the ones that I will read. So
Yeah, absolutely. And then Nate, of course, our personal man in black, he says the real benefit is that it will make him very happy and he won't go hunting people down to force them to follow.
that's
And
true.
you don't want that, folks, because first of all, Nate can kill a bear with his bare hands, and he's also
Oh yeah.
half dinosaur beaver, dino beaver.
Yeah, I think he has a dino beaver or he's married to a dino beaver or something. He has access to dino beavers is the point.
I hope he calls us penis dino beaver going forward.
I would. I mean, I'm gonna from now on. I don't know how often I'm gonna have to refer to it, but every time I do, it's gonna be called the dino beaver.
Gotta whip out my dino beaver.
You're like, God damn it, Nate, put away that dino beaver. you
You can see your
know?
dino beaver through your gray sweatpants. It's
Yeah, right?
anyway, so definitely follow the show so you don't miss any of the sweet exciting things going on, especially if we really do end up having Night of the Demon watch party. That's going to be your first fucking source to figure out where and when and how. So,
True.
and we can make that happen. So how about that? Listen, how about this? Every single one of the socials, the Facebook page, the Instagram, and the Twitter, if we get 500 follows on each one, we'll do the watch party. How's that sound? I think that's a good idea.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna cut you a deal, so you get something out of it other than keeping up with the show. So anyway, you
Win-win.
wanna? Oh, go ahead.
I just said that's win-win.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You want some news?
Yeah, I have a news, but you should go first.
I have two newses, two news
I think
to
either
share.
is correct.
So let's see. Let's start off with Nate's favorite Ohio news. Are you ready for some Ohio?
Yes,
Oh my God.
Ohio, Florida of the Midwest. Love
Listen,
it.
I don't plan this. I don't do this I don't go out seeking Ohio news. Like, it just so happens that fucking something lately has been going on. So it's been interesting in Ohio. So Ohio news, Oberlin, Ohio specifically. I don't know where that is. But an Ohio school went on lockdown due to a Bigfoot sighting on guess what? Last Wednesday, May 1st.
Hmm.
So the school initially, when they went on lockdown, had reported to all the parents that they were on lockdown due to a suspicious visitor. Coming to find out, it was somebody wearing a Bigfoot costume on the school property, and they still don't know who it is. And that's it. That's the story.
Huh. But they're sure it wasn't Bigfoot. It was somebody in a Bigfoot costume.
Well, right. That's the thing about it, is that there's not a whole lot available about that. How do we know it wasn't Bigfoot? The police officer who gave a statement on it, just said that, basically it was somebody who bought one of those scary costumes from Amazon and was walking around with it on as like some type
Okay.
of prank. And it's like, okay, well, if you haven't caught the guy to be like,
Right.
yeah, it was a prank, bro. Um, I mean, how do you know? They didn't refer to any specific costumes. So
I
it
would want to hear from like an actual eyewitness. So
somebody
if
that
there
saw him,
were
yeah.
yeah, if there were eyewitnesses out there saying, "Oh, it was a guy in a costume for sure," then I'd be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, maybe." That makes total sense. Like you saw him, I didn't.
Right.
But you just have the authorities going, "Oh no, well, it has to be a guy in a costume or something." Then that's, I think, potentially indicative of the kind of circular logic we see in these cases far too often, where it'll be like, "Oh, you say you saw this thing, but what you actually saw was a guy in a suit. How do I know it was a guy in a suit? Because the thing you think that you saw can't possibly exist."
Yeah.
And it's just bullshit, and it's not good. It's not good reasoning, frankly. So,
Yeah. No, that is a very valid point. And when I look at the location where Oberlin, Ohio is, I'll tell you, it is in fucking Bigfoot country for real. That is like the peak of where most Bigfoot sightings happen.
okay.
So,
Is that
I
like Grassman territory?
mean, oh yeah. Oh fuck yeah. It's like up near Lake Erie.
Okay.
So,
There's a lot of UFO
um,
sightings up there too, actually.
yeah, Lake Erie is just fucking weird. So I don't know. It's interesting. Um, So, I would be interested to see how those reports came about. Unfortunately, with like school lockdown stuff, it's always super secretive. I have a child that's in school. There have been a couple of weird things that have happened, and we never really get the full story about it. As a matter of fact, When my kid was in fourth grade, another fourth grader brought an actual gun to school, and that's all we know. We don't
Hmm.
know anything else, and they don't tell you anything else. There have been times where they've been like the police have been in pursuit of people, and you don't ever get the details about it. They'll like hold school over, like make kids stay because they're pursuing some criminal. You don't know what they're chasing them for. You don't know what they're charging them with, and you don't know if they ever caught them.
Wow.
So these types of things are really hard to get information on, and the only source that I have found for anybody coming forward has been like the police officer just making the statement saying that, yeah, it was a prankster. Well, I don't know how we know that. That's a good question. Is it the kids that said, hey, there's Bigfoot outside? Was it a teacher? Did they use that word? Did they say it's Bigfoot outside, or did they say, oh, that's clearly a costume, it's a costume
Right.
person outside? um I think either case has something to take away in when it comes to Bigfoot sightings. Number one, you're absolutely right. It could just be that they're assuming it's a costume because Bigfoot doesn't exist. Number two, the camp of people that say that no Bigfoot sightings are ever costumes because you would get shot for doing so are fucking just so wrong. Just
Oh
so
yeah.
dead wrong about that. So, I mean, both things can be true, may not necessarily exist in the same incident. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to try to track down some of those parents and see what they think about it. So,
Oh, definitely. Like I said, I don't know that we're ever going to get to the bottom of this if we don't get actual eyewitness testimony. It's fascinating though to hear that kind of report,
mhm,
because you can have kids as remarkably good witnesses, as long as you are very careful. Like I think you got to get to them right away because kids are very impressionable, but they're also very honest, right? Like they're
yeah,
just open books, And so if you can get to them before their memory is corrupted by a bunch of people telling them what they saw, then you can probably get some pretty good testimony.
yeah. Um, yeah, I think so. It'll be interesting to kind of try to see, like I said, what the locals are saying about it. I would like to figure out who called that in. I don't even know how you would do that. You could just contact their local police department and see. Can you? You can, right? It's public information.
Oh fuck yeah! File a FOIA request.
Yeah,
You can do it
yeah, I
all
think you're
online
right.
these days. It's not difficult.
Yeah, super easy. I might do that and try to track it down a little bit more and see what's going on. But yeah, super interesting. So I mean, I don't know. Would they close school down completely for somebody in a Bigfoot costume? Um, that's kind of up for debate as well. If it was just a prank, then obviously you would think obviously it's harmless, but maybe in today's day and age where we have to worry about things like school shootings, maybe it's not obvious. I don't know.
I guess
Um,
unless they see a firearm, though, like that seems like an extreme overreaction.
I agree with that. Yeah. Was it like peeking into windows? I mean, what's the details here?
Even if it
Um,
was like if there was just some unarmed person like hanging around the school, yeah, go fucking get them. Like tell them not to do that. Arrest them if you have to, but you don't need to lock the whole fucking school down if they're not armed.
right. Right. Like the whole
That's
school down
weird.
for what? Yeah. So, I mean, I could understand locking down the school for an actual Bigfoot or, not necessarily locking it down, like hiding under your desk and things, but like not letting
Cover up.
people leave.
Government cover up is what it is.
Obviously, it's a government cover up.
They locked down the school because it was a real Bigfoot and they
Yeah.
didn't want anybody to get out. Probably that Bigfoot was being chased by the government and what I assume is a sort of Harry and the Henderson situation. And they're after him and he runs past the school, but they can't let people see what's going on because they're a bunch of dicks hunting a helpless Bigfoot, a
Yeah.
forest friend, if you
Right.
will. And so they just try to cover it up. And then after the fact, they think we're a bunch of stupid assholes. So they're just like, oh, yeah, those rubes in Ohio, they'll believe fucking anything. Tell them it was a guy in a suit or whatever. Who gives a shit? Throw a cheeseburger at them. They'll forget in like 2 seconds. Yeah, that's what the government thinks of us. They can eat shit.
Meanwhile, the real story is that it was Bigfoot, but he was outside, well, jizzing all over the place.
Oh,
You can't,
man.
you can't have that at a school. Yeah.
Well,
That's not where you do
yeah.
that, Bigfoot.
Hey, okay, yes. The government, some sort of authority figure should intervene in that scenario, yes. Not by
Fucking
the kids, Bigfoot.
fucking
For
peeping
fuck's
peeping
sake.
Tom Bigfoot. Yeah. No, it could be a government cover up. They love that type of thing. They love to cover up Bigfoot, I hear. Uh,
Everything about it. Like, I'm not a conspiracy minded person, but if I was, oh man, I would be all over that as government cover up because it
oh, for
sounds
sure.
like a bunch of shit that doesn't make sense unless you're covering something up.
Yeah. And right, the whole story is just so I'd imagine that the news reported on it because they're listening to the police scanner and they got the call that they're seeing Bigfoot outside the school.
Yeah, well, they reported on it because in a 24-hour news cycle, you have to have constant clickbait.
Right. Right. And so they're like, okay, and that's interesting, right? That'll get people and they probably talk to the chief of police there, whatever, maybe the sheriff. I don't know what they have. Oberlin seems like it's probably a very small town. And then he said, "Oh yeah, it's just some guy in a costume." And that's the end of it. They didn't follow up with the parents, didn't follow up with school, or anything like that. But even if it was just a guy in a costume or it was a Bigfoot, whatever it was, it's still at large. So
Cover up. I'm calling it.
we'll see. Maybe I'll do a little sleuthing. Maybe I'll do my damn job and
Yeah, go up
investigate
there.
it. And see, right, go up there and be like, what's going on? Then the next week in the news, it's so, some crazy woman. The school was on lockdown because a crazy woman was at the school yelling about Bigfoot.
Right. Woman arrested, semicolon, institutionalized over Bigfoot hunt.
I'll take my 1972 Ouija board with me.
Right.
Light my matches. That's what they're for, right?
I assume.
Bigfoot. Um, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what comes of it. And probably nothing, but maybe, who knows? I mean, at least getting, sources from parents. And I think that would be really important.
Sure.
And that would be really neat. And it's because it's a small community, I'm sure that they'll know who the fuck reported it to begin with. So we'll see what happens. So, anyway, on to my next news. Are you ready for my next news?
Oh, I was born ready.
Oh my god, trust me. You think you're ready for this? You're not ready for this.
Hold on, oh wait, no, I'm already sitting down. Okay, go.
Brace yourself. All right. So Hulk Hogan.
I already like this.
You will. You'll really like it. Hulk Hogan went on a little show called the 700 Club. Do you know what the 700? I'm sure you
Yeah,
do.
those religious nuts, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. So Hulk Hogan, well, actually, I'm sorry. I don't think he went on it. I think it was a clip shared to the 700 Club, and this is why this story is kind of popping up now. Hulk Hogan made the claim that Rowdy Roddy Piper.
You better not disrespect Roddy fucking Piper.
He said that Rowdy Roddy Piper called him and left him a voicemail 2 days after he died.
What? I hope so. I want that to be true so bad.
So this is super interesting. Nate, this is where your sleuth editing is going to come into play. So we have the clip of the voicemail. So we have that voicemail. We are going to go ahead and play you that voicemail, and you can hear it yourself.
I saw the light. I'm walking with Jesus today, my brother. Walking with Jesus, loving you and praying for you.
So in the voicemail, Roddy says, he says, what's he say? I'm just loving you, my brother. I'm just walking with Jesus and loving you, my brother. And that's it. That's the voicemail.
Huh? Does it sound like him?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it does. Yeah, and this has actually been something that's been out, it's been out in the wild there forever. Like I said, it just seems to have picked up steam again because it was shared on the 700 Club show,
Uh-huh.
and it's Hulk Hogan. But people are questioning. We don't know the date of that voicemail. He says he was at home. I think he was like watching TV or something, and the phone didn't actually ring. He just suddenly had a voicemail, and it was from fucking Roddy Piper. and was this weird voicemail. Now his claim is that, okay, so here's the thing. They were two rivals. They hated each other.
Right.
Except Hulk Hogan goes on to say that, eventually after they both kind of got out of the wrestling game a little bit, he says they became really good friends. But he says that he would still never have had said something like that in a voicemail. That's just not how Roddy talked to people. Like, it just doesn't make sense for him to say something like that. But Hulk Hogan is known for stretching the truth a
Sure.
lot.
Like as soon as you said that, like there was supposed to be a voicemail from Roddy Piper on Hulk Hogan's fucking voicemail, like the first thing that came to mind was like, he better not be talking shit about Roddy Piper.
No, it's a wholesome story if it's
Yeah.
true. But and that was the first thing I searched for. Once I saw this story crop up, I was like, well, where's the voicemail? Right? Bullshit.
Right.
Where's the voicemail? Well, it's available. He's released it. But like I said, we don't know the details about, we're not doing an analysis on it to figure out what date he received that voicemail. We don't know. This could have been before he died, and he's just using it because he's Hulk Hogan, and that's what he does is he uses people to become interesting and relevant again.
It wouldn't be that difficult to just record a voicemail from somebody who kind of sounds like him. Who
That too.
knows? Or
Yeah,
somebody could have just called and left like a bullshit voicemail that he didn't even expect or know about,
right.
just to be like, oh man, wouldn't it be kind of funny if I called and left this voicemail, like doing my best, Roddy Piper impression on Hulk's voicemail? Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Who knows? And who knows? Maybe it's fucking real, Maybe it is real. I don't know. Phone calls from the dead are something that have kind of been around, well, since we've had phones, right?
Sure.
Um, super interesting topic. I'd love to cover it one day, but and maybe this is the case. I always think of the Twilight Zone episode. I don't know
Okay.
if you've seen it. I don't know if you watched Twilight Zone, but
I've seen most of them.
yeah, just the old lady keeps getting the phone call. Her husband died. She keeps getting a phone call, and it's just nothing or static or whatever. And then they
Right.
go to the grave, and there's the phone at the grave.
Yes.
Yeah,
No, I mean it's a thing. I think boy, don't quote me on this, but like the very early days of telephones, you go all the way back to like Alexander Graham Bell and all that shit. Like I think they were used or intended to be used in some capacity as a means to communicate with the dead. So
yeah, yeah. So, it's definitely an interesting topic. I don't know if you remember phones back in the day, but like, you'd get a lot of interference on those. Back when like DSL internet was like starting to become a thing, you would kind of hear like crossovers of like your neighbors' conversations and shit.
sure,
you know, phones aren't what they are now,
that's
and
true. Well,
I
we
think,
have something from Nate, who is a self-avowed wrestling expert, who's saying that it's probably a real voicemail because Roddy Piper seemed to be making amends towards the end of his life. But also, he definitely did not send Hulky voicemail in the afterlife. So, okay, fair enough.
I mean,
You heard it from Nate, our wrestling expert. And
yeah,
if you
he was
can't
a
trust
wrestling
that,
expert.
then
So,
I don't know who you can trust.
yeah, so Nate calls bullshit on it. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Hit us up on our social medias. Let us know what you think. Is the voicemail real, or is Hulk Hogan just doing what Hulk Hogan does, and again trying to stay relevant?
Yes.
I shit on the guy. He's a terrible person, personally. But I also dig the theatrics a lot. I wish I was that theatrical of a person.
Sounds exhausting. Tell you what,
Yeah.
here's what you do. You go back, you watch They Live, then you watch Hell Comes to Frogtown. And
Yeah.
then, so so you got
Yeah.
Roddy Piper's voice fresh in your mind, and you've treated yourself to two amazing movies, and then listen to that voicemail and see if it sounds the same.
Aren't there frog tits and Hell Comes to Frogtown? They go to the whole strip
Yeah,
club, don't they?
sure.
Sure.
No, there
That's
are. I own the movie.
okay. There are frog. I've seen it once. It's good. It's fun though.
It's amazing.
I
It's
can't say it's good. I
Roddy
don't know
Piper.
that, but
It's got Sandal Bergman in it. I'll watch anything with Sandal Bergman in it. I don't give a fuck what it is.
As long as it's
She's
got
amazing.
frogs
She
in
was
it.
Valyria in
Yeah.
fucking Conan the Barbarian. She was in Red Sonja. So many good Sandal Bergman movies.
Yeah. People need to watch Hell Comes to Frogtown if they haven't, for sure. And of course they live. I mean, you're
Yeah.
obviously not living if you haven't seen They Live.
No, John Carpenter, fucking
Yeah.
Rowdy Roddy Piper, Keith David. What more do you want
Mhm.
in a movie? For fuck's
Oh yeah.
sake.
Yeah. If you like this show, you'll like that movie.
It's got
It's
it
just
all.
standard.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure it's the inspiration for my career. I mean,
I love it. I love everything about it. I have a T-shirt that just says, "I came here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum." It's the
yep.
best.
Yep. Classic. Very classic. I thought you were going to say it says obey, but
No,
that too.
yeah, right. Like you have to put on the special glasses to see that. And now nobody who hasn't seen this movie has any idea what we're talking about.
No, that's true. I would be surprised if people haven't seen it, but I don't
I'm
know. Check it
constantly
out.
disappointed by what people haven't seen, so
That's
it's fine.
true. That's a good point. That's a good point. But yeah, so Hulk Hogan coming forward with his phone call from the dead, and yeah, like I said, it definitely, of course, it's a topic I want to talk about. It wasn't previously on my topic list, but it's going on it now. So
Sure.
expect that eventually, one of these days, we'll cover it. But that's my news.
Very solid news. That is some A+ newsing. I have a single news, and
Okay.
that is witness reports harrowing encounter with winged humanoid near Caneville, Illinois. So,
Okay.
yeah, this was actually reported to me directly. So, Matt Sexton, 33, of Illinois, reached out to me directly last Monday. Well, actually, if you're hearing this on Wednesday, 2 Mondays ago, Monday last week, and he wanted to talk about an experience he had just had. And in the course of discussing that experience, we actually ended up talking about two previous experiences, and it makes sense to discuss them in order, right? So his first experience with a winged humanoid was back in April or May of 2023, right? And he's a truck driver, and he drives from very early in the morning, I mean, like, 1 or 2 a.m. into the afternoon. And these experiences all happen between like 1:30 and 3:30 a.m. And so the first time he was driving on US Highway 30 near a town called Hinckley in Illinois. And as he's driving, he sees this huge branch fall off of a tree and just hit the road in front of him. So at that point, he looks up and he sees what he described to me as this creature that could have been 12 feet tall. It was enormous.
Okay.
And yeah, and he said it had this sort of mouse brown, short haired fur. And that was as good of a look at it as he got. Otherwise, he said that it looked humanoid, and that it seemed to have legs and arms separate from its wings, and it came down and kind of swooped in front of the truck, kind of like how the way he described it was, if you've seen a bird, he used an eagle specifically. If you've seen a bird dive and they'll have their wings tucked up, right, and then as they hit the bottom of the dive, they will quickly unfurl their wings so they don't just splat on the ground. And he said that's what it did. Basically, swooped down, unfurled its wings, flew off, and it's dark out. It's obviously pitch black out at that point, and so it just disappears into the darkness. And at that point, right, he didn't know what he had seen. He didn't just immediately jump to Mothman. He thought, well, okay, could it have been an enormous bird? I don't know. It could have been a lot of things. And so he just kind of put it in the back of his mind, and that was it. Now, a few weeks later, he has a similar experience. So he's once again driving truck, and this time he's on I-39, which is just off of US Highway 30, about 10 miles or so from that first sighting, and does the same fucking thing. This creature swoops down low in front of his truck, and he gets a little bit better look at it. And this time he's able to see that it has this sort of webbing between its legs, like a flying squirrel or a wingsuit or something. And he described its feet as having these 3 big claws in front and a talon in the back. So that to me is like some sort of raptor, if you think like a bird of prey or something. And then as far as its face is concerned, he got a little bit of look at the face. He said it had some kind of muzzle or snout. Described it as being similar to, like, I know this is going to sound silly, but it's the thing that he could relate it to the most in terms of size and length and stuff, is like a gerbil snout, like just this elongated snout, right? So the wings, which I guess he got a better look at the second time, were membranous, right? So now he didn't see leathery skin or anything, but the thing did seem to have these sort of membranous wings where there's skin stretched between, bone and its limbs, sort of forming these wings, right? So, okay, that's experience number 2. This time, also, he estimates that its size is about 10 feet tall, based on sort of like relative points in the environment. So he measures how tall it would have had to have been by looking at the fog line and the center line of the road and how it was stretched between them, and then estimating that it would have had to have been about 10 feet tall or something. And the wingspan then, he estimated at 20 to 25 feet, which is fucking enormous, obviously. So, okay. Anyway, sighting number 2. So sighting number 3 then is, again, last week Monday. So it just fucking happened. He messaged me at like 5:15 a.m., right? Like I was asleep. I didn't even get it till later. And I talked to him on the phone last week too, finally. And, maybe 2 days after this happened. I think it happened on Monday, and I talked to him on like Wednesday. And so this time he's driving to work, and he's in his personal truck. And this time things became like immediately unhinged. Like shit just goes bananas. And so he's driving along. It's like 2:15 in the morning, and he's driving on McGurr Road, about 3 or 4 miles west of Caneville, and he's coming up onto this small bridge spanning a creek. So there's a bridge in this road because there's a creek that intersects it, right? At which time this creature suddenly appears, and he doesn't know if it came out from under the bridge or what. But so all of a sudden, it's doing its fucking thing where it starts swooping at his truck, and it's getting real close, like almost touching the windshield. And it would like go up in the air and come back down, and he thought it impacted with like the roof of his truck, and so it's like dive bombing his truck as he's driving along. And he's concerned, he's frightened, let's be honest, which I don't blame him. And he starts taking off. And so he's going, what he said to me at least, was he's going like 110 miles per hour. And this thing is keeping up with him and continuing to swoop at him. And now here is where it gets unfucking real. So at that point, he grabs his Taurus 9mm, this a pistol that he has on him, which I am a gun owner. I understand somebody who works those hours having a pistol in their truck. Like, I don't think that's weird. I don't have a problem with it. And, but anyway, he grabs his 9mm and he starts shooting at it. He rolls the window down and he shoots us at this thing because that's how seriously he's taking it. He fires maybe 7 or 8 shots, doesn't know if he hit it or not, but it disappears again, just flies off. And, I talked to him about that specifically, and he really emphasized that he wasn't proud of shooting at it. It wasn't some, fucking dick waving contest, like, oh man, look at what a badass I am. It was, look, I was fucking terrified. I didn't want to die. I didn't know what this thing was. I figured if it was something that I just was misidentifying, like some crazy species of bird, that I've never seen or isn't supposed to be here. Worst case scenario, I kill a bird. But if it's something else, like who knows, So I understood at least, um, and that was it, like that's what happened to him. And what's really interesting to me, and then I want to hear your thoughts on this, of course, is for whatever reason he wasn't able. Well, I shouldn't say for whatever reason. Let me back up. So he wasn't able to record any of this, and the reason why, and this was interesting to me, and I'm so glad that the conversation kind of led in this direction, was because in both cases there were issues with the dash cam that he would have in his truck. So the first time in his work truck, after the second encounter, he installed a dash cam, in his work truck, and then he never had another encounter in that truck. He had a dash cam in his personal vehicle, which is what he was driving during the third encounter, that malfunctioned 2 weeks before this happened. And so he had taken it out and hadn't actually replaced it yet. And so nothing about these encounters was necessarily like supernatural or paranormal or anything like that. And I made a point of sort of asking, what he felt about it and if he had experienced anything else unusual, like I always do. And no, like there wasn't anything obviously paranormal, no glowing red eyes or anything like that. But I was struck by the odd coincidence, the synchronicity, if you will, of those fucking dash cams, and this phenomenon seeming reaction to or aversion to dash cams, and so it's only appearing, when something is going on with them. Of course, a cynic might say, "Well, sure, of course, that's exactly what I would say if I wanted an excuse for why I didn't have video of something or
Sure.
something similar." But we don't know that to be true. And so if we are assuming that he's relating his experience authentically, and I don't have any evidence at this point to expose him for not doing so. There's nothing to indicate that he isn't being authentic here. Then that's a hell of a coincidence. That's fucking weird.
Well, yes and no. Knowing what we know, right?
Hmm.
Is that this particular phenomena does tend to have electrical interference. I mean, massively. I think one of the most well known cases of the electrical interference is when Officer Halstead took the Scarberries and Mallets back to the TNT area where they had their sighting, and although he didn't see anything, he had a weird interference on his radio, couldn't use
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Again, that's just probably the most well-known example. It's definitely not the only one. So that, I mean, it seems par for the course for Mothman sightings. What I find interesting is that this thing seems to be stalking him. I mean,
Yeah, well, I mean, all three of these happened in a relatively small geographic area. So I don't know
right,
if he's being followed or if he was just driving through its territory, and that's what led to this.
right. And I suppose that part would kind of be up for debate depending on what you believe in this thing
Sure.
is. I'm of the opinion that this is not an accident. You don't stumble upon Mothman. It's very significant to your life. Some people still grapple with it potentially being some type of unknown animal, which I just disagree with. But
I agree with that. I don't think it's biologically impossible based on
right.
everything we know about
Even what
biology.
he is describing, 10,
Correct.
12 feet tall. The face is interesting. The fact that it has snout, that was super interesting.
Right.
I haven't heard that before. That didn't happen in my encounter, but I didn't stay long enough to see a face. I left. So,
Right.
in all fairness. But have never really heard that before. But we have had people report I mean, sometimes in these reports that you get, they're not necessarily flying humanoids, but bat-like, and bats do tend to have like giant snouts. Now, whether or not it's the same thing or not, is of course up for debate. We don't know until we catch one and ask it, right?
Yeah, right.
Um, but super interesting. Has he had a history of anything at all happening otherwise in his life?
No, because I asked because I
Right.
always ask, right? But no, I mean, other than just kind of the stuff everybody sort of experiences, maybe the occasional weird sound in an old house or something.
Sure.
Yeah, he had never really had any anomalous experiences other than this, and there wasn't anything real weird other than the dash cams
Yeah.
either like being installed, causing a cessation of sightings, or malfunctioning prior to a sighting.
Hmm.
That really lent any paranormal qualities to any of these experiences.
Yeah.
Although, again, like even he admitted, when we were talking about it, that it doesn't make sense as a fucking animal. It doesn't make any
Sure.
sense as an animal. It shouldn't be able to fly. It just doesn't work biologically.
Yeah.
And so that in and of itself is sort of paranormal, right?
Right. Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, weird.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, like, the dash it's not like the dash cam went out during the encounter, it went out 2 weeks earlier, that's pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
that's
Like,
weird.
that's pretty, I think he's being stalked by the Mothman. It's a new
Well,
Chuck Tingle book.
stalked by the Mothman, a love story. Um, yeah,
Um,
I mean, we'll see. I
yeah,
definitely plan on staying in contact with him,
for
and
sure.
if there are any other sightings or anything, I will be all over it, and I'll make sure, of course, this isn't that far away from us. This would have been all three of these really just outside of the western edge of like the Chicago metropolitan area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'll get down there. He's happy to show me around. I've got a project I'm working on, where as part of that project, I'll likely go down and he'll show me around, and we'll get a chance to see some of these areas at least and check them out.
Mhm.
Maybe get caught by a Mothman. Who knows?
I hope you do. Yeah,
Me
I hope you
too.
do.
Thank you.
Then you find at least settle it for yourself,
Right.
fuck, but I do hope you come back to tell us about it. Um, no, the fact that that it's happened, I mean, it's not unheard of for people to see Mothman again. Um, we definitely have people, again, going back to the most famous sighting, Linda Scarberry. She saw it
Yeah.
again later in life. But later in life, like way later, and that's usually what happens. It's like it's way down the line. Like it's not like this. This is very interesting. I'm invested in it. I want to know what happens. Where does it go? I want to know how this guy's life changes because I firmly believe that it's going to.
Sure.
you know? So I'm interested to see what that might look like, a year down the line or so on and so forth. So, super interesting. Super interesting. I love it. How
Yes.
about that?
Agreed. And of course, I will provide any further updates, as they happen.
Yeah, let us know. Take a bunch of equipment down there, electrical stuff just for the shits and
Sure.
giggles and see if there's any interference.
That's actually happened before. We had a
Mhm.
case in Oregon, Wisconsin, which is only about 30 minutes away from me. And there were these two young women. This was, I want to say, Thanksgiving 2020, probably. And they were out driving around because there's fuck all to do in Oregon, Wisconsin when you're 18. And they were just driving around. They had a loop around the town that they would drive in, which, if you're not from the Midwest, maybe you think this is weird, but it's what we all do when we're teenagers because there's nothing else to fucking do. So you just get in a car and you drive around. And they went past this particular spot. And when they would go past this particular spot, it was a rural intersection with like a single street light. And when they would go past this intersection, their radio would glitch. It would start like playing a station from the other end of the dial, like just weird shit. And so they noticed that, of course, and they're basically going in a big loop, just driving around, shooting the shit. And then when they come around to go through this intersection again, they slow down because they see this animal in the road. I think it was like a possum or something. And when they do, that's when they see this enormous winged humanoid kind of swoop down, right? And what's interesting then is I of course talked to them myself. I was able to speak to them directly, and Emily and I, after hearing their experience, and it's longer. Their experience is longer than what I just described, but I want to get to the fucking point of this. Um, After hearing about their experience, of course, Emily and I pack our shit up and we go out to this intersection. And I had set up my cell phone camera on a little holder, basically like a clip that attaches it to the dashboard. So it would film in front of us as I was driving, like a dash cam. And it was recording audio during that time as well. And I had the radio on because if the radio fucked up, then I wanted to record that, right?
Right.
And we drove through this intersection, and nothing happened to the radio. And at first, I was like, "Oh, well, this is disappointing. What the fuck?" Because we drove, back and forth through this intersection, and it wasn't until I checked the footage later that I found that something while driving through that intersection had interfered with the audio of my cell phone while it was recording. There was this weird clicking, like interference, just fucking bizarre. And it only happened, it's like you could measure the radius of whatever the fucking weirdness was around this around this intersection, because it would be normal, and then you would like hit this invisible wall, and all of a sudden audio interference, and then you would like turn right and like head out of this intersection, and then it would just switch off and everything would start being normal again. Just fucking bizarre.
And no obvious explanation for why that could be happening.
No, I
Nothing
went back.
towers or anything in the area.
I looked. I actually went back during the day, because we went at night, and I looked for all of the obvious stuff, like you said, like towers or large satellite dishes or
Just power lines in general.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean anything like a transformer or something, anything that would be putting out like a significant EMF or something.
Hmm.
I didn't see anything, nothing that would make sense. And the best part is it wasn't consistent, because when I went back later, the interference was less until eventually it was gone. So it
Interesting.
was like a temporary phenomenon.
Hmm. Of course, because then if it wasn't, you could measure it and test it and maybe get something out of it. But
Right. So now I have
the
like,
phenomena knows.
yeah,
It's
that's
obvious.
what I'm saying. So if it was some environmental effect, like somebody had some equipment out
Right.
there,
It'd be
it
happening.
should be consistent, but it
Yeah.
wasn't. It was like it was strong because we went out there almost right away, after their first experience. And at that point, again, like it's really strong, and then it just faded over time.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had random electrical humming at the TNT area and stuff like that. It happens. I don't know why. There's nothing out there. We did kind of maybe come to the conclusion that maybe it's possible that somebody out there somewhere had a generator, and maybe we were hearing something like that, but very far. It still doesn't make a lot of sense with what the noise was, but because it didn't sound like a generator, but you try to ration it away,
Sure.
but yeah, super interesting. Well, we talked about that on the investigation episode. I've had batteries drain. It happens. And then the shit never seems to happen whenever you are recording or whatever. I mean, it just doesn't. You just never catch it. So super super interesting. It's like I said, it's on par with Mothman sightings. The consistency of these sightings, though, is very different. So I'm curious to see what happens.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
that's a good one. I feel like you've been getting a lot more winged humanoid reports lately. Is that
There
just
were
me?
like three in a row.
Yeah.
Um, but it's nowhere near where it would have been in like 2017. And I don't think we're likely to hit those kinds of numbers again. So, but yeah, no, there have been 3 in a relatively short amount of time, but you know that if you look at overall how many we received last year and then so far this year, it's very, very few compared to like 2017, 2018.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Do you keep a record of your yearly report? Like, do you know how many every year that you get?
I have a timeline. Yeah,
That's smart. That's a good like
totally.
the well, like the Loch Ness monster sightings, it doesn't mean anything when you hit a record year, probably not, but maybe it does.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of them, if you go back to, I don't want to digress too much because we do have an actual topic
Yeah.
for
We do.
for our episode this week. But a lot of them in the early years, like 2017, 2018, I think we got a lot more misidentifications,
Sure.
and potentially a lot more just one-off bullshit sightings because of the hype around everything too.
Oh yeah,
So you know,
definitely. Okay, well, let's get into our this week's topic. How about we do that?
I think we
Um
should. I would recommend it.
I would honestly be very shocked to find out that anybody listening to this episode has actually heard about this case. Because it's not even necessarily like one of the craziest things that's ever happened. It's just that well, we were kind of talking about before the show, how people sort of complain that UFO happenings only really seem to happen within the United States, and that's just not accurate. And I've covered some of them before. Of course, some of the bigger cases, Virginia, which is, I think, probably the most famous international case aside from the Aurora incident, which eventually we'll cover that too. Um, so this one's a smaller, lesser known one, but I think it's neat, and I'm going to talk about it. So
I think we should. And you're right. Like the idea that UFOs and UFO occupant encounters and shit like that is this American phenomenon is just the most ego fucking centric thing
yeah,
in the world. It speaks more to Americans' inability to recognize that there is a whole fucking planet out there that isn't us,
right.
than it does to some sort of like exclusionary aspect to this phenomenon. The reality of this is UFO sightings happen fucking everywhere.
Hmm.
UFO occupant encounters happen fucking everywhere. And if we don't hear about it, it's because we're too goddamn self centered, and we're not looking anywhere other than our own backyard.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Well, and I think that, obviously, language barriers, I think, have something to do with that as well, but like Google Translate exists now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, there's no excuse anymore.
it's true. It's never been easier. Yeah,
No, right. And so, I mean, let's start, bringing some of these up and showing people that, hey, this happens all over the fucking place, and it's virtually the same type of sightings that we're getting here, or the same type of encounters that we're getting here. This one's actually kind of a wholesome story, though. I kind of like that. It's not really scary.
sure.
So, without further ado, I guess I'll say this, Tobias. Were you familiar with this case before we decided to cover it?
No, no, I was not. This was new to me. And it, like immediately when I was looking through the materials that I had found for it, like it just reminded me of there were parts of it that just reminded me of so many other like UFO occupant experiences that I had seen over
Hmm.
the years, that I was just fascinated like immediately. So it's a great
Absolutely.
case.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's get into it. So, Tobias schooled me before the show. Apparently, this happened in Poland. Specifically, Tobias, is it Emilcin? Is that what it is?
As that's
Emilcin?
as close as you and I are
Emilcin?
going to get without
Okay.
speaking Polish. So yeah, it's something like it's supposed to be uh,
Emilcin?
Emilcin, I
Emilcin?
believe.
I think you're right
Emilcin.
about
Just
that.
say it fast, and nobody's going to know.
Poland. It happened in Poland.
It's a village in Poland. That's the important part.
The title of it's in the episode, so if you want to Google it, it's there. That's how you spell it. Um, but this happened. We're on an anniversary. That's why we're talking about it. May 10th, 1978. So it was farmer Jan Wolski, which isn't as painful to say compared to some other things. So that's good. Well, he was going down the road in his horse drawn cart when suddenly he had some visitors. Two 5 feet green skinned humanoids jumped into his cart to hitch a ride, and they tried talking to him, but he said it was in a weird language. And he obviously didn't understand. And, he seems so chill about it. And maybe this is because all of his interviews are in Polish. So I've only read about it. But he seemed like I said, pretty chill about the whole situation. In fact, he went on to say that he thought that they were foreigners because of their slanted eyes and prominent cheekbones.
Yes, thought that they were potentially like just a couple of Chinese dudes with paint. Yeah, no, I'm serious. Like
Yeah,
just a couple of Chinese dudes
that were
who
sick.
had painted their faces green.
Something. Yeah, I mean, and obviously they're speaking some weird language. He doesn't speak Chinese, right? So, um, he just kind of kept going in his car. He didn't stop. He kind of continues, and I don't know if that's just from the shock of it all, of what's happening.
Well, the way
Um,
that he met them was okay. So this is actually an interesting story. If you like horses too, I don't think Emily listens to our podcast, but if she did, she'd be like, good for him because he had just taken his mare that's pulling his cart to like a neighboring farm to breed her with their stallion, right? And he's coming back and he doesn't want to take the road because his mare isn't shoed, and so the road is too hard for her hooves, so he goes off the road to this like forest track, right? And he sees these weird dudes walking towards him, like they're walking along like from the other direction on this fucking forest track. And I don't know what the interaction was like, but I'm just picturing him very politely, like tipping his hat, like afternoon, and then like going past. But then, like, instead of just continuing on, they jump into his cart.
yeah,
And like, that's when shit gets weird because you're right. Like, they just start apparently speaking very quickly to each other in a language that he didn't understand, but assumed could have been Chinese, I guess.
and he's just like, all right, I guess we're doing this. I mean, I don't know.
Right?
Yeah, I
He's
don't know
just
what
too
he.
polite.
Right, he's just like, okay, I guess, yeah, you can ride with me, sure. Um, so he continues on a little bit in the cart. Well, and like I said, it could have been shock. He's trying to kind
Sure.
of, it's not like the horse is like, oh, some people just fucking jumped into your cart. She's just
Right.
doing her thing. So it could have just been he hadn't had the chance to stop yet. But as they continue going on down this path, they come upon a clearing, and in the clearing, he came upon a craft, a UFO, a spaceship, whatever you want to call it. Seemed to be um, I'm assuming flying saucer shape. I couldn't find like drawings or anything of this one. I don't know if you did.
Well,
Um,
it's described as being metallic, and Wolski said it reminded him of a bus. It
yeah,
had the form of, so like picture like a rectangular 3D object, something like that.
and that seems to be, yes, kind of the best description. Now he said it was about roughly 15 feet tall, and it was as long as a bus. So I'm assuming it's elongated. He said the craft itself was hovering about 16 feet above the ground. He probably used the metric system, right? Because
Sure.
we're
Everything
American.
I found has been in metric.
Right. So,
So
I'm sure he used that. But most of you guys are Americans, so 16 feet off the ground. He said it had four drill-like objects that were kind of placed around it and were making like this weird humming noise coming from it. So I don't know if that. I mean, they weren't in the ground because he said it was hovering, so I don't know what that's about. Pretty
they're just
intimidating.
like, yeah, they're just coming in and out of into the air for some reason.
That sounds kind of sexy.
Right? Ooh, getting hot in here,
Oh,
UFO. Wow. All
uh,
right. I
it's
can't
sending
wait to see where this goes.
it's sending some messages. Well, it kind of goes that way. But we'll get there.
It does.
So it's got these weird drill things on it, and he's like, okay, bet. An elevator type of thing descends from this object, and two more of these weird little foreign guys, what he thinks are foreign guys, come out, and they all four of these beings then kind of lead him into the ship. So, um, interesting, a very interesting description of whatever this craft might have looked like.
Right.
It,
Like I've seen reconstructions and drawings and stuff of it, and they're pretty consistent, and it's pretty wild. It's literally like a rectangle with like, you know, two drills, vertical, like two vertical drills on each corner. I don't know, it's fucking wild. I'll share some of these images on like
Yeah,
our social media or something so people can see them.
that'd be sweet. Yeah, when I look at it, I agree. It is weird. It looks kind of like a camper,
Kinda.
like an Airstream,
I
is what
think
it
these might
reminds
have
me
been alien campers. Yeah.
of. They're just camping, right? They're just chilling.
Right. Just fucking with the local wildlife like you
Right.
do.
Yeah, what's gonna happen? So they take him onto the ship, and of course they're continuing to talk to each other in a very strange language, and somehow they get him to take his clothes off. I don't know if they
Just
started
gestures. They
playing.
pantomimed. Yeah.
Well, in my mind, the way that I see it is like they start playing the fucking Party Boy song from Jackass. And he's like, "Oh, okay," and he just jumps right in, starts
Yeah.
ripping off his Adidas button-down pants.
Obviously.
Um,
Yeah, just it's all he I mean, everybody knows that 1970s Polish farmers all wore like breakaway clothing and
oh
at
yeah,
all times and
oh
nothing
yeah,
else.
oh yeah, with his shiny man thong underneath. Of course, he was
Yeah,
ready
you
for this
never
moment.
know. You never
That's
know.
and that's what his father told him, and he was like, "Thanks, Dad." Um, but no, they ordered him to get undressed, in all seriousness, and they did, of course, start examining him with a tool that looked like two dishes, or more specifically, two saucers. Now, not flying saucers, but like saucer plates, sauce
Right.
plates. Um, and he's kind of looking around the craft, and he's kind of observing what's going on. He said that there were like these like single seat benches that were all around it. He said that it was dark. There was no lights or windows at all in there. No lights is weird.
It was weird.
Um,
Like only the daylight coming, like the light coming in from the open door was like the only light.
right, which is like maybe we're assuming that they either intentionally cut the lights so that he couldn't look around, or maybe they don't need lights to see.
I don't know, but he didn't see like he didn't report any like panels with displays or
No,
lights or anything. Like
no.
really, the interior of the craft was just like the same black as like the uniforms of these things. I don't know if we mentioned so
Oh
they're
yeah,
wearing uniforms
right.
and they're just like skin tight black suits, like wetsuits, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And right, and the inside was very much, it was just dull. There really wasn't anything, or at minimum, if there was, you either didn't notice, couldn't see it, or didn't report on it. But it just doesn't seem, you've got like fucking Betty and Barney Hill, where Betty sees this whole fucking map of the fucking universe, and
Oh yeah, they're showing her 3D star maps and shit.
right,
Yeah,
it was nothing like that going on here. It was super boring. But that's cool. He gets examined. He puts his clothes back on, and he had noticed that these other entities, which he didn't, at least in anything that I read, didn't mention anything besides the four. But I'm assuming there's more of them,
I don't
and
know. Maybe.
I don't know why I'm assuming that. I guess because he had mentioned that they were eating. They were sitting down to eat something, and they actually offered for him to eat it too. He said that what it was resembled icicles.
Icicles that were as soft as cake. If you could picture, so I'm picturing like maybe like a gelatin, I guess. I don't know,
I'm
in the
thinking of
shape of an icicle.
like you ever had like like a cream horn? They kind of have like that weird cone shape, but like they're spirally, but
No,
they're like a pastry.
that sounds good though.
Yeah,
I'd try it.
it's pretty delicious. It's like cream filled, yeah, and it's like a pastry, and it's like spiraled down, and I mean that's the only thing that really comes to mind. That makes a little more sense than like maybe see through jelly icicles. I don't know. He should have taken him up on it.
I don't know why he didn't.
He could have
I
been the
mean,
next Joe Simonton. He could have taken some
that's
with him.
honestly that's one of the cases that I thought of right away was Joe
Me too.
Simonton. Like
Yep.
because like there is food being offered.
Hmm.
There's the description of the beings as foreigners. There's the
Yeah.
entirety of it is just weird fucking high strangeness. Um, yeah. Oh, there's a just even his reaction to the beings. as just surprisingly calm and kind of helpful. Like
Right.
he's nice to him the whole time. They're nice to him. Like there's no compulsion here. Like he's not
Yeah.
being abducted. He's just sort of being gently led, and he's happy to do it, I guess. One of the things I thought was interesting too was when he was getting undressed, like the beings had sort of a special attention to his clothing, but what they were really interested in was his leather belt. And I like to think that the reason that they were so interested in his leather belt
Mhm.
is that they're looking at this fucking belt, right? And they're like, "Oh, that's interesting. I guess it holds his pants up. Like, wait, what's it made out of? Is that wait is that animal flesh? What the fuck?"
These people are barbarians. I thought you were gonna say
Right?
first. I thought you were gonna say that they all pointed and laughed at his wiener.
They
Then I
might have.
then I thought you were gonna say that I don't think it would have been a happy occasion then. But then I thought you were gonna say that they were into like some BDSM.
That's where it was all going. Like, and so the next thing they do is they laugh at him because he doesn't have a big old space dick like they do. And then they're like, well, you know what happens for having a small Earthman wiener?
Yeah.
You got to get spanked. Hand over the belt. And then, like, some cheesy music starts playing in the background. You know what I'm talking about. Like, it's a 70s porno.
Oh
Yeah.
That's why they examined him with the saucer tool. They had two of them, right? They thought surely he'd be at least that long, and he wasn't. They were like,
Right.
made him put his clothes back on. Get out of here. Tried to feed him something like you need to put some meat on your body.
Seriously. They're like, here, eat this. It will give you a giant space dick. They
That's why
just couldn't understand why he wouldn't eat it.
he should have eaten it. You know,
I'd eat it.
that's great. Well, YOLO, right? Fucking aliens come down, offer you some food. Hell
Exactly.
yeah, but eat it. Everybody so far, well, not everybody so far. The one person so far that had this happen, Joe Simonton, he did it.
Yeah, he's fine. He
Yeah,
didn't die of, I don't know, space dysentery or whatever people are worried about.
right.
Fine.
He said it tasted bad, but
Yeah. Well, go figure.
aliens can't cook apparently. At least not those guys. But yeah, no, it's super. It is interesting. Why they would find that strange. I guess I don't know why they would. Because it's made out of animal. Because it holds your pants up, and they're just wearing like wetsuits.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like they wear fucking onesies, like skin tight onesies
Right.
around.
They're
So
like, what's pants?
yeah, it's like, well, hold on. You have multiple pieces of clothing. This is very inefficient. I don't like
Yeah.
it.
Who the fuck wastes their time with that? It's like Zuckerberg and how he wears like literally the same thing all the time because he says it's just and there is science to that. I hate to say it, there is science to it, but man, how boring.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah.
No, you could just lay your outfits out for the week. I mean, if you're really so inclined to not waste your time on it like that.
I would,
Anyway,
but like the cats would sleep on
I
them
know, right?
then and just be all
Yeah.
covered in fur.
Animals, yeah. I mean, I get it. I get it. But anyway, so he's like, yeah, I'm good. I don't want your space icicles and your space jelly icicles. Um, wait, maybe it's the same thing as like sky jelly, but they just formed it in icicle shape.
Maybe.
Sky jelly, the shit that falls from the sky. It's all
Yeah, I
clear and
wouldn't
flat
eat
and
that though.
I mean, I I don't know.
No, I mean, I'll tell you what. If we see some sky jelly, you have to eat it now
Ugh,
because you basically come out in favor of eating it.
yeah, that's
So
true.
you don't want to go back on your word. You don't want to look foolish.
I mean, it looks gross, but I am I want to know what it tastes like. Maybe it's the best thing. Maybe it'll give me a giant space dick. That'd be sweet.
Maybe. Okay, everybody listening, send your space jelly to On Wednesdays We Talk Weird, courtesy of Ashley Hilt, and she will eat it.
Yeah, I'll eat it. Send it over. Oh, gee, I can't even imagine what would show up in my mailbox.
Look, we all know that space jelly is just going to be fucking jizz.
It's just yeah, and then they're gonna tell me it's from Bigfoot. And I'm gonna be interested, but I'm not dumb. Anyway, so he turns down their feast, and he's like, "Nah, I'm just gonna be on my way now." And he does, and they just let him leave, and They don't follow him or anything, and he fucking just goes back to his cart.
Yeah,
He
it's the absolute best because he's like, okay, this is my favorite part probably. So once like cuz they give him this whole medical examination. They didn't just take his clothes off to like
right,
I don't know,
he got
ogle him or
examined,
whatever,
yeah.
right? So like they give him this whole medical examination with their little saucer fucking tool or whatever. And then at the end, like they tell him to get his clothes back on. He does. Wolski smiles and bows to them because he wasn't afraid. So he smiles and bows. They make kind of a grimace, like they're trying to smile, but they don't really fucking know how, and then bow back. And then Volsky's like, all right, see you later, and just fucking leaves.
Wait, did he say that happened? Is that what he
Yes.
said happened? Oh my god. I love that.
Yeah, it's the absolute best. Like I'm sure it is in his head. He's just like, okay, fuck. All right, Jan, this is your shot. This is your chance. You're representing all of humanity right now. You got to think carefully about what you want to what you want to do, how you want to behave in this fucking historical moment. And what he comes up with is, I'm going to smile and bow. I'm going to teach them that's what human beings do when we say goodbye.
And they're just like, "Ugh."
All right. Just like, I don't like it. This feels wrong. All right. Get out.
Weird. It makes me think of it makes me think of the ending of the Truman Show.
Okay.
And he's like, "Have you ever seen it?"
No.
"Oh my god, you gotta
I
watch the
know. It's
Truman
fine.
Show.
You've never
It's
seen
so
Star
good."
Wars. Leave me alone.
Yes, I have. I've seen the first 3. Well, the
Oh,
first
okay.
you know what I mean by the first 3. The first 3, the good ones.
The good ones? Okay. You
Yeah.
could have just said the good ones. I would have known.
Well, now you gotta watch the Truman Show.
I
So
will.
anyway, the reference falls short on you, but it doesn't for people that have watched it. They know exactly what I'm talking about, and I'm sure they're picturing the same thing. But yeah, no, and like you can find interviews with this guy. You can't understand what he's saying, but you can find unless you speak Polish. I don't know you, but
It's
you can
true.
you can find interviews with him, and like he looks like the type of fucking guy to do that. You know what I mean? Like he's a
Right.
character. He seems fun. I'd hang out with him, you
Oh,
know.
totally. Just like super fun, just pleasant, like farmer, just living his best life, just enjoying life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I can't imagine him getting angry or upset about anything. He's that kind of guy, you know.
Oh, sure.
And so he leaves. He goes back home. And yeah, well, fuck, he tells his family, you got to check this out. You got to see this. Because as far as he knows, the craft is still there. It was there when he left.
Mhm.
And so he gathers up his family, and not just his family, he gathers up a bunch of different people.
Oh, yeah. He's like excited to tell his family and friends.
Right. He's like, you got this is crazy. They're eating some crazy stuff. You gotta come check this out. They're gonna have you take your clothes off, but it's all right. We'll do it together. And he's getting
Right.
everybody involved. And a group of them, which I don't know exactly how many people were there. I couldn't find that information, but a group of them go to the same clearing and the craft is gone. Um, however, the grass is visibly disturbed, right? There's like some track marks and some like down push down grass to where like something was there, which is weird to me because it wasn't hovering. So are we
Right.
like assuming that like the power of the hover itself had disturbed the ground?
I think that like what what I would picture, I guess, is that there's some kind of energy field or something because it had to be hovering through some means, right?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, maybe there is some weird energy field or something that affects the vegetation that would have pushed it down. I mean, what's what's interesting, is when people showed up, like they could see the area of this grass that reportedly wouldn't grow for years afterward.
Right. Yep. Would
So
Yeah.
that's not just something like pressing down on it. That's something just fucking with it. Um, which is weird, but you hear about that in UFO cases. Like that's not the first time we've
Yeah.
heard this.
Yeah. That's
And
very
so I guess
popular.
when the vegetation grew back, it grew back kind of yellowish in color, like it was a little sickly.
Hmm. Yep.
So I don't know.
Yeah. It's a pretty popular thing that tends to happen. You know, you get this weird grass that never really grows again. So that's just another UFO trope or trend, whatever you want to look at it. you know,
Right.
not saying I'm gonna come right out and say it before I move forward. I 100% believe this story. I need this to be real. Um, for me, I need it for
Sure.
me. I don't care about anything else. Fuck science. This is for me.
Right.
And anyway, so right, and so my favorite part about it is that Volsky is like, oh, the craft's not here. I'm gonna take off. And he goes back and like some the people that he brought just like stay and examine the field a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
And some of the family members say that they actually had found footprints, smaller footprints in the grass that weren't Volsky's, to kind of back up his story, is what they say.
Oh yeah.
Um, and but I love that. I love he's like he gets everybody fucking out of bed, doing whatever they're doing. I think it was the middle of the day, but like he didn't care. He's like, "Come on, you got to see this." And he gets there and he's like, "Ah, never mind."
Right.
Just
But
leaves.
they're interested. I mean, it was at least like one of his sons and like a
Yeah.
neighbor, I think, at least like initially. And but they're interested enough. Like they see this patch of disturbed grass,
Mhm.
so they start poking around. Obviously, they took it seriously enough, just based on his testimony to be like, all right, well, we're gonna poke around a little bit and see exactly what the fuck it is that happened here. And for people who think that this is it, this is the entire story, it's not,
It's
because
not.
there's a bunch of like corroborating fucking
Yeah.
evidence from other people. Like there
Yeah.
were two children from Emilcin, Adam and Agnieszka. Oh boy, how do I say this?
Nice.
Popiowek.
Yes. Hope you're
Popiowek.
back. Yeah.
Yes. Who said that they saw a strange bus going up and above their barn. And they even saw a pilot through the craft's window. And what's interesting is this little boy, who I guess was the main witness, he told his mom about it. And his mom was home, and she actually did hear a strange bang during when his sighting would have been taking place. And what's really interesting is that like once he told his mom, he goes inside, he tells his mom about it. She realizes she heard a strange bang during his sighting, and he and his sister go to the backyard to play, and they don't talk about it. Like they don't tell anybody else about it. And it's only later when this kid's mother hears about Volsky's experience that she makes the connection. She's like, wait, that sounds an awful lot like the fucking bus that my kid said he saw flying over our fucking barn,
Yeah.
which is wild.
Yeah. And what's crazy to me about it is that the kid claims to have seen a pilot, but again, Volsky said that the inside of that craft was completely dark. There was no lights.
True.
So again, it kind of leads more to maybe they turned them off on purpose
Makes
to,
sense.
to try to conceal, right? Because wouldn't you need a backlight in order to see the pilot through the bus thing?
Yeah, one would think, like I'm kind of picturing a craft where they have control over things like the transparency of the material and the
Mhm.
lighting and all of that stuff. So they just kind of set it to whatever their need is at the time. And so it can probably appear in a number of different like configurations.
Well, and like I had mentioned, it looks like an Airstream, and when you close the windows on an Airstream, it looks like it has no windows.
That's true.
It's completely smooth. So it's not like that's fucking groundbreaking technology.
Sure. But I
Windows that
mean,
open
like,
close.
if they're extraterrestrials or interdimensionals or from a parallel
Oh,
universe or
sure.
whatever the fuck they are, their level of technology should be like at least as advanced as a terrestrial airstream,
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
like probably a good bit more advanced.
Yeah, absolutely. The craft itself is so strange. It really is. And I haven't come across anything that looks like that in my research, and I think that's neat. It's fun to get away from grays and saucers, right?
Oh yeah.
So I mean, whenever you have, I think that was like one of the interesting parts that I found about like the Injured Cold story was that it was such a weird looking ship. But it just, leads to me, that seems more credible that they are different because these are, I think, different species coming for different reasons. So,
Yeah, you
um,
never know. There was even like another witness months later, Henrik Marciniak,
oh,
who saw a similar object in a small town in September of that year. So, like,
oh, interesting.
who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they came back. Maybe they never left.
Hmm. Interesting. They came back to hang out with Wolski. He just never said anything about it. No, he was pretty open.
So,
He's been pretty open about his story. I think he's dead now, but
he is. Yeah, he's been dead
uh,
for a while.
but he, I mean, he did interviews and stuff. Again, they're in Polish, so good
Right.
luck.
Well, he was
But
71 at the time of his sighting
yeah,
in
yeah,
1978. So he
he
passed
was.
away in 1990.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So he passed away before I was born. Wow. But yeah, I mean, so it is a super interesting case. It's pretty wholesome as far as some of these alien abductions go. They're not always this wholesome, even though they didn't really know what to make of the guy. I think, I think they're a little
Right.
intimidated by him. Like, okay,
Well, he's wearing a dead animal on his waist like a psycho. Oh shit! Speaking of animals, we almost glossed over my. I shouldn't say my favorite because it's a part. It's the only part of the story that fucking freaks me out. So when he's taken on the craft,
uh
there is supposedly the one thing he does see is like a pile. Other than those benches, is a pile of birds.
yeah,
Yeah, in one corners in one of the corners of the craft,
I forgot
he
about.
sees a pile of blackbirds. They're alive because they're moving, but they couldn't fly or like even walk. So you just picture this pile of fucking birds, which is already insane. But then they're just kind of like twitching or like moving sluggishly. And I'm thinking, there is no reason, like there is no benign, benevolent fucking reason to have a pile of drugged birds. You fucking weirdos. Like, what kind of murky business are you fucking reprobates up to that you have a pile of drugged birds?
Yeah, when you go on a hike and you find really cool rocks and you take them with you.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they were collecting birds. They just liked them. I don't know.
I mean, it reminds me of something I'd see in a horror movie that like isn't gory but would stick with me for days. And I'd just be like, "Oh, those poor birds."
Yeah, it definitely is. No, it's like sounds like something you'd see in fucking like Reanimator or something.
Yeah,
Just like one of those body horror.
absolutely.
Well, because I mean, he didn't say they weren't like melted together or anything weird. But
No, but
but
there's
they were
something wrong with
alive.
them, and they were in a pile.
They weren't okay.
You don't just have a pile of animals.
Of birds, especially.
Yeah, like literally, anytime you're piling up animals, rethink your life.
They had a bird hoarding problem. I don't know.
Right? They knew they were having a guest over, so they just kind of shoved them all into one corner.
Stay there.
Right?
Fed
We've
'em that
all
weird
been
icicle
there.
stuff. Yeah, they're like just chill. Maybe they're birds that they're hitting like out while they're flying around their ship, and then they feel bad, right? But they're not dead yet. They don't know what to do. They're like, how can we fix this?
Right.
They just keep adding it to the pile until they figure it out.
Right? Like okay, every single thing they said to Jan was helping these birds related, but he couldn't understand any of it. So eventually they just get frustrated and they're like, well, fuck. Okay, bye.
They're like, why is he taking his clothes off?
Right?
They look at each other like, well, I guess since we're here.
Right. Well, somebody get the two saucers and at least we'll get something out of this.
They're not even like it's not even really a tool. It's literally just two sauce plates, and they're like, I guess we'll just pretend that
They're just being polite at that point. They're like they're waving the saucers over them, just making sounds with their mouths. They're like beep, beep, woo, woo. Okay, all done. See ya.
and then that's why when he smiled and bowed, they're like, I guess he's not gonna help with the birds.
Right. Like, this sick fuck's wearing animal flesh on his waist. He probably, he probably enjoys the fucking drugged birds.
Yeah, I don't. There's so like stuff like that. When you
Yeah,
include that shit in your UFO in your alien experience, like that's the kind of shit that's like, who the fuck makes that up?
I don't know.
Like that 100% happened.
It is so. You're right. It's one of those weird details where, I mean, it's not impossible that somebody would invent that for whatever reason, but it is the kind of thing that seems unusual for somebody to just invent. Like, it's not necessary to the story. You
No,
don't need this to exist to tell your fucking UFO occupant encounter story.
we almost didn't tell that part at all. The whole episode, you
No,
know.
I think I blocked it out because it's so
It's so
traumatizing.
fucking weird, right? It doesn't that doesn't. Where the fuck have we seen that before? We haven't. Like it's
No.
not like he picked it up from some sci-fi movie or a fucking book he read. Like that shit doesn't make any fucking sense. There was obviously a reason that we just were humans were too dumb to know or too smart to know, who knows. But you don't just make that shit up. You don't just include that in your fucking UFO story.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like, if you were actively trying to make something up that you wanted other people to believe, that is not something you would insert to make it more believable.
No. No, it's fucking wild. And I don't understand it.
No, that's what bothers me. Like, just these drugged, I'm picturing them as drugged, like
Okay.
drugged birds, like in a pile, writhing around. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Like maybe one at the top tries to stand up and it just kind of wobbles and falls back down on the pile,
Yeah,
and they're kind of maybe slowly moving their wings sometimes.
right. You're just like, so what are you guys going to do with these? And the aliens just kind of look at you and don't say anything. And you're like, okay, awesome. Well, fucking great talk. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. But you guys take it easy.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. I really don't. That part
Yeah.
is just like I said, the only explanation I can come up with that makes any sense at all is that they're birds that they hit, that they're trying to help.
That's
Why
so
they
many
have them in a
birds.
pile, I don't know.
And they're all blackbirds too.
Yeah, they're
Like,
all
they're all like
blackbirds.
crows or rooks or something.
Yeah. And
So I think that they are just fucking psychos.
maybe there's a black market for blackbirds from Earth on their planet.
Maybe.
And they have to drug them to, keep them from flying around the fucking ship while they're,
That makes sense.
traveling through space. And maybe that's why they were there to begin with. They're poachers.
Maybe. Yeah, no, I like the only thing that comes to mind is some kind of fucking weird, I don't know, medical experiment or, like a tag and release program. Because yes, we do sedate animals and tag them and release them.
Sure.
That
Sure.
is a thing, but not usually in piles.
No, not usually. Well, right, they didn't. It's not like there's no like visible cages or anything around. It's just this weird.
No,
It's fucking weird.
it is.
I'm just trying to rationalize it somehow.
Right.
And I can't. But like I said, that is kind of what makes me feel like. I mean, it just gives more credibility to something like this.
Sure.
The more ridiculous it is out there, and I know people are capable of making some ridiculous shit up. People are creative, obviously. But I just don't think that's the case with this one. I don't know. Tobias, what do you think about this whole story in general?
I love the story. I love that there is corroborating evidence and in the form of other testimony. There's even other stuff that I hadn't mentioned. So, like, apparently there was the owner of a farm in excuse me, in Emilcin, they say 200 meters away from the clearing, said that he heard an unusual noise. So there's this guy relatively close to the clearing who said he heard an unusual noise during this encounter. A couple guys driving from Warsaw said they saw a strange object in the sky. And let's see, a local artist who made sketches during the research in Emilcin said that they found feathers of blackbirds that were strangely cut. And the whole thing was reportedly thoroughly researched by a known ufologist, presumably Polish, by the name of, now, I, I hope you're ready for this name,
Oh, let's do it.
of Zbigniew.
Okay.
I shit you not, and I'm sorry if you're Polish and listening to this. The name is not funny. It's just difficult for my clumsy American mouth to pronounce. But yes, Zbigniew Blania Bolnar,
Nice.
who I guess passed away in 2003. That's unfortunate. But apparently, he and his team of researchers that he had collected from different professional areas, like a psychiatrist, psychologist, biologist, hypnotist, physician, physicist, so on and so forth, were said to have conducted a pretty good investigation of this matter, and as a result, they concluded that Wolski was not making the story up, nor was it some kind of waking dream. Now, waking dream, of course, quite famously, was the official Project Blue Book designation for Joe Simonton's
Hmm.
experience back in the 1960s. But they concluded that it likely wasn't any of that. Um, and so he was relating his experience authentically, and it remained unexplained, because what can you say beyond that? Like, if it happened the way he said it happened, well, how could we fucking know what it is then? It's just strange.
Yeah. Have you heard of this particular ufologist? Because I
I
never
have
have.
not. I
Yeah.
assume they are local to Poland.
Right. He's the guy. He's the weird guy in Poland.
Yeah, he
Um,
was. Yeah.
yeah, he was. So yeah, but it does seem to be pretty thoroughly investigated. I agree with that. As much as I can't speak nor read Polish, to really actually dig up documents to know what I'm looking at. Yes, there's Google Translate, but I'm also a little too lazy to do so. So,
Right. There is a book
oh,
written in Polish called "In Event in Emilcin." It's, I can't pronounce the fucking Polish name of it. That's the
sure.
English translation. But I don't know that it is translated into English.
Into
So
English, yeah, yeah. No, it is a super interesting story. Either way, it does. I agree that it's very Joe Simonton. If I had to think of one case to compare it to, it'd be that.
sure.
Because it just with the like you said, the foreigners and the food and just the fucking total bizarreness of it all. I mean, even Joe Simonton didn't have a pile of birds.
Yeah,
So
he made space pancakes, but no birds.
yeah, he had the pancakes and he had them. He ate it. So, I mean,
True.
I think they're still on par with each other. Um, it's a wild one. It's fun though. I like it a lot.
It is wild. It is fun. And they take it seriously there. They
Yeah,
take
they
it
do.
seriously enough that they erected a monument to the UFO sighting
Yes.
uh, where it happened. So the village of Emilcin decided, hey, this is a big deal. And they put up a little monument there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. They've definitely. I mean, this is probably the Polish UFO story, if there ever was one.
sure.
It's pretty well known over there. Again, Jan did go on to do all these interviews and he's been on different programs and stuff like that. There's of course the original recording of his events when it first happened. The story, as far as I can tell, has stayed pretty consistent. So I don't feel like he's added or taken away any, impertinent details or anything like that. I think it happened. I think this happened, you know?
Sure. I mean, I definitely think that based on what I have seen, it's entirely possible that Jan Wolski was relating authentically an experience that he had, whatever that might represent. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that this is legit. And, again, considering the fact that it's in Poland, right? So even, they didn't really catch the same UFO hype that we did, through the 50s and the 60s and, all that time.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's a totally original tale. And so what I mean by that is like none of it aligns with any other UFO encounters. And to me, that makes it all the more interesting. Because, like I said, there's probably, I mean, if there are aliens and they're coming and they're studying us or whatever the fuck they're doing, collecting birds, then there's not just one species. I think it would be really dumb to assume, especially with the variances in different abductee reports.
Mhm.
And I don't think they've ever really been back. I think that they came here, they came to do what they had to do for that time period. And they haven't been back ever since. We haven't seen any airstreams lately. So
Sure. Well, I mean, it depends, I guess, on what hypothesis you subscribe to.
sure.
If you subscribe to like an extraterrestrial hypothesis, then sure. If you subscribe to, like, say, the ultra-terrestrial hypothesis, then who knows what he was actually
Right.
interacting with, because it just made itself look like what he claimed to have seen and was probably something else entirely. And if that's the case, then we can't really trust the most of the details provided by most witnesses, because they're just being manipulated by this sort of trickster phenomenon. So who knows?
And in that case, if that's the case, that means that they projected that pile of birds
Yeah,
for
that was on
whatever
purpose.
reason.
Fucking weirdo.
They
What is
thought,
wrong with them?
well, what do these people here like? What's something that can comfort them? How about a pile of blackbirds?
Maybe it was just like, what's the weirdest fucking thing we could put over here that makes no sense, that will make people not believe this story?
True. That's a good point, right? They're like, people are gonna hear the blackbird and be like, oh hell no, that didn't happen.
Yeah, right.
Um, jokes on you, ultra terrestrials, uh,
Yeah.
or whatever the
Turns
fuck
out
they
there's
are.
nothing we won't believe. Haha, idiots.
Dumb, dumb. We got you again. But yeah, no, I like this one. I can't say it enough. I think it's super interesting. I hope everybody listening liked it too. And I'm gonna say that it happened. That's what I'm saying. I think it happened.
Okay. You heard it here first. Official designation happened.
Yeah, and I'm an expertologist, so I know. Well, if I say it happened, it means it happened. Damn it.
It's true.
No, I just, honestly, like I said, I just kind of needed to happen for me.
Sure. That's a good story. There's no reason, there's nothing compelling that has come out since to say that it definitively is a hoax or something
Yeah.
similar. So people can believe it or not believe it. I don't really give a shit either way. But again, like, I wouldn't fault anybody for going either way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and just like a lot of these stories, there's no way for us to prove it a hoax at this point.
Of course.
We could only potentially prove it real if the beings came back and announced that to the whole world that it did happen and it was
Right.
legit.
Had like a
And
video of it. Yeah.
right, like, and they're like, oh, this is what the deal with the birds was or whatever. Like they would, tell. I mean, that's the only way. So yeah, it doesn't hurt anybody to believe it. It doesn't hurt anybody to not.
Sure.
At the end of the day, but it is a fun one. And I like it. I like it. It's one of my tops. It's up there.
Nice.
It's up there. Bizarre shit. The most bizarre shit you can think of is in my favorites. And man, it's peaked. It's up there. So
This
um,
is peak bizarre shit.
peak 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 strange. Yes. It is just tops. And I don't know, I like Joe Simonton, but man, this rivals him. And it's not fair to compare the two because they are, while they have similarities, very different. But
Sure. I put them
I
in the
don't
same
know.
category.
One of these days, maybe we should do like one of those tier lists of like UFO and alien encounters, and like put them where we think, make our own tier list, put them where we think we go. I don't know.
We'll
We'll see. We'll see. If we get
I'm
a
always looking
thousand.
for new ways to make people mad and get into nerd fights. Sure.
Absolutely. The madder the better. No publicity is bad publicity. So, once- anyway, any final thoughts on the Emilcin Jan Wolski story?
Oh boy, I think we pretty well covered it. I guess my advice is try not to think about the birds. You don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Just put it out of your mind. Just,
yeah.
if you're listening, just forget about the birds. Concentrate on everything else. Go do anything to get your mind
Mhm.
off of it.
It keeps me up at night. It's haunting.
It's yeah.
So I get it, but yeah, definitely. Okay, well, I guess that's it then. With that being said, we'll see you guys back here next Wednesday.